It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Will you be my friend, Judy?
I will. I love being your friend, Dennis. It is a beautiful day because it's snowing outside.
It doesn't happen often, but usually once or twice a year around the Seattle area, we get a little bit of snow. It drives people mad. But that's
Not driving.
another story. I'm Dennis Day, and you are listening to Getting Your Edge, How to Downsize Your Life. And I'm with my co host, Judy Gratton. We're here today to discuss the real estate cycle. When is the best time to sell? And then we're going to give you some tips to get that sale done so you can be ready when it's time to sell. Are you ready to go, Judy?
I am ready to go, Dennis.
All righty. So first, we're going to start off with a little graph, and we're going to show you the real estate cycle. And this will get very clear that there are ups and downs to the real estate market.
This cycle is in our area in the Puget Sound region, probably the state of Washington, but it might be different if you lived in Arizona or Nevada, somewhere very hot. This is a snapshot of the Washington state market. If you live somewhere else, it could be different. Say if you're in Arizona or Nevada where it gets very hot, people may buy in the winter. I'm not sure, but a good realtor could explain that. Please, Dennis, show us our graph.
This is directly from the Northwest MLS, mostly in Washington State. And it covers, let me say that again. It covers most of Washington State. There are other pockets that don't use the Northwest, but it is the MLS service that is used in the Seattle area. This is a snapshot from the Northwest ML, which we use in the Seattle Puget Sound area and most of Washington State. And you can see the up and down pattern going, peaks and valleys. So January, starting off, this is the number of closed sales and peaks. This is 2002 at 10,000, almost twice as many closed sales in June as there were in January. And as you go, we get some August, a little bit of a peak, and then we drop back down. January, 3,000. Let's look at closed sales. So those closed sales in January would have been put under contract in December if you figure a 30-day lag. Then January 23. This was an unusual year in that there were really definite peaks and valleys. You see a little dip in July and then another little in August. So drop down again in January. So we're riding from January, we're riding a long peak up to usually May or June, little dip in June or July, and then another dip
In late summer.
in the late summer.
Not a big dip in the late summer. And you may wonder why 2022 has so many more sales. That was when interest rates were still good until June 15th. And then they started to rise and sales started to drop. And that's what we see in 2023 and 2024. Higher interest rates made a mark on the real estate market all over the country.
According to this graph, Judy, when are the most sales happening?
Really, the most are probably in well, you begin to see it climb in January. That's when appreciation starts, where prices begin to rise. And that, in just a good market, that's normally somewhere between 5 and 7% appreciation. But in incredible markets, we saw it up to 25% appreciation. And that's when people start thinking about buying and looking at homes. And so January to May is the period where the appreciation hits its mark. May is about as high as your appreciation will normally go. And then it kind of levels off the appreciation period. But throughout, May is great because the weather is nicer as people are ready to make that move. Summer months kind of maintain. There are some little drops because of vacation periods, but it stays not real plateau, but close. And then in September, when kids go back to school and people are done with vacations and the weather starts to change, you begin to see it go down. We used to have a saying that the door closes October 31st. And after that, anybody who's buying got to really want to buy a home in the Northwest because the weather is not that great. If you want to sell your home, start thinking about it now and consider putting it on the market end of March, April, May. That's when the appreciation is happening and you can get more money. Or during the summer months, appreciation won't generally go any higher, although it could on a one-by-one basis, but there'll be a lot of buyers out there.
Here's our price. Median sales price, January goes up. May it peaks. And look at the difference. 525.
Remember this. This is
635.
also when that interest rate started climbing.
Yeah.
Also affected the pricing a bit.
This is the entire MLS. This is not Seattle and not King County or Linwood or Bothell. This is the whole MLS that is most of Washington State. Prices are different in the Seattle area. Drops down, peaks in June, drops in January, peaks in May. Little drop and boost. Remember, we're a 30-day lag, so October closed sales are under contract in September, and we're back down again. All right? I think that's enough graph. Let's stop that share.
We also have a shortage of inventory that has affected those charts. Not that many homes out there for sale at this point. That could change. Real estate changes. Every time someone sells a home near yours, it changes the value of your home. And if you would like to have access to a monthly report that shows you what's going on with your particular home, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to send it to you free of charge.
If you want the maximum price, look at your home going on the market in April, May, and get that thing sold for the highest price. Generally, now you can't say individually, it varies, but in general, the peak price for a home is going to come in May or June. And then it's going to, it's still active in the summer, and then fall comes. And, we have some good sales in September and early October, but then late fall, people are thinking Thanksgiving, holidays, and then in winter, it drops. Doesn't mean you can't sell your house in those winter months. Probably won't get peak price, but the people who are looking to buy in December and January are serious buyers. You're not going to have looky-loos come through. You're going to have people who really need a home and they can't wait. That's our cycle. And this is 50 years. It's been essentially the same again and again. There's always ups and downs. 2007, 8 crashed, etc. All right. So we understand the real estate cycle now, Judy. How do you get ready for selling? What would the first thing you want to do?
First, consider your goal. Is it to get top dollar? Do you need to move quickly? Is your home in need of a lot of repair work that you don't want to do, or are you willing to do that? Because all of these questions, and I would get your pad and paper out, or however you figure out, put your notes up on the screen and just start answering those questions for yourself. Why do you want to move now? Especially if you're downsizing, is it because the house has become too much to take care of? Maybe repairs are getting too expensive. Answer those questions. If you want top dollar, you need to start getting ready. Don't wait until the last minute. Don't call the realtor and think that you're going to go on the market in a week if you want top dollar. Because generally, first of all, if you're downsizing, you have a home full of stuff to go through and determine. If you're downsizing, if you're really going to move to a smaller home, it's probably not realistic that you're going to bring all of that stuff. So what are you going to get rid of? It depends on how motivated you are, how capable you are of getting it done. Even if it's only a drawer, do a drawer. Go through a drawer I went through my kitchen drawers this summer and I couldn't believe some of the things that happened in it.
Tip number 1, declutter, depersonalize. A buyer is not going to walk into your home and want to see your family's history on the wall. They want to visualize what this home will be like for them. Depersonalize it.
When you walk into a home full of trophies, family pictures, and hobbies, it's uncomfortable for the buyer. As much of that as you can pack away, you're moving anyway. So maybe find someone that you feel good about giving your things to, because you're not going to get hundreds of dollars for China. You're just not.
Your kids don't want to go through all that stuff.
No,
Start getting rid of it. Tip number 2, make your necessary repairs. What are some of the things they should do?
You might start by going around the outside of the house. Mildew and moss is a big problem because we're so wet. So is there moss growing on the house? Do you need to power wash? Do you need to paint? Are there pieces of wood that are beginning to show dry rot that need to be repaired? One huge thing is that we have a tendency to landscape around our house and it grows right up against the house. And it may have already caused an issue where insects and rodents have gotten into your home by going through or up the tree or bush. Or we also use a lot of beauty bark in the Northwest in our beds, and it builds up along the foundation. And before you know it, it's resting on the wood of the house, and that causes dry rot. So pulling those things back away, cutting bushes and trees to like 6 inches to a foot away from the building itself. Dennis, you looked at a house with one of your clients that had ivy growing all over it.
No.
Not if you want to sell. It looks really pretty, but it will destroy whatever is underneath.
Fix leaky faucets. Put a little oil on that squeaky door. Put a new light bulb in the one almost burned out.
And make sure they match. When you're selling, think of your product. This is no longer just your comfortable home, and this is your product. Don't have 3 different shades of light bulbs in the chandelier and then one out. People are not going to offer you top dollar when things like that happen. Check under the sink. Probably 90% of us have had a little leak under the kitchen or bathroom sink. Make sure you've cleaned up that mess. You don't want people looking at that.
Curb appeal. It's hard to think about this in January here, but this is really important.
Yeah,
why?
First impressions. I have had multiple clients that we go over to look at a house. The picture looked great because the photographer can do anything with a picture. And you pull up and they literally say, nah, we don't even get out of the car. Unfortunately, you just lost a potential buyer because it didn't look good out front. Power washing. Are the driveways clean? Are the sidewalks clean? Are the bushes trimmed? Are the beds manicured? Do they have weeds? Put down beauty bark. Primroses are out at grocery stores. Put some color into the beds to make them look brighter. Get a brand new welcome mat. At your front door. Is the doorknob worn out? Does the door need to be painted or washed? Look at your garage door. Does it need to be painted? Those could be minor things that could make thousands of dollars for you. Clean up the front of the house. Make sure the roof is clean. It's time consuming, but you don't want a shabby looking roof because again, you won't get top dollar. If the roof is old, you might as well start looking at replacing it because unless you are willing to make an adjustment in your price.
You only get one time to make a first impression. And if you've got dandelions growing all over and the bushes aren't trimmed and the tree is out of control, sidewalks are mossy.
Car in the front yard with a blue over it or paint buckets stacked up in front of the house. Look at your house. Again, a product. It is now what you're selling. And if you're not going to do all of it, the more you do, the better your chances are of getting a better price.
As a buyer, you drive up and you see the disarray and get uncomfortable and you say, well, if it looks this bad outside, what's it going to look like inside? Allow yourself enough time to do these repairs. You don't have to do major repairs, but small things add up. Give yourself time to do it. Tip number 4, deep clean everything.
Everything. Yes. The windows where they slide. when you're opening and closing your window, that gets, especially here, maybe not in other parts of the country, but that can get moldy and dirty and gritty and grimy. And take a toothbrush and some spray cleaner or a magic eraser and clean that out. In your bathroom, the caulking around the shower, tub, toilet, and sink can get moldy and crunchy and not look good. Make sure that's clean. And if it needs to be repaired, repaired. The shower door, a lot of places, it's all foggy from soap scum. That needs to be cleaned off. Look at the faucets. As I mentioned, the doorknob, is it old? Should it be replaced on your front door? Look at your cabinets. Are the hinges old and grungy? Replacing cabinet hinges and pulls with new ones don't have to be fabulously expensive, but you clean the cabinets, you do that, and it gives it a much brighter look. Same with faucets. Make sure that they're not dripping. Make sure that they're not really old and decrepit unless you're going to adjust your price for it, like it's becoming a fixer. Those should be more up to date. They don't have to be terribly expensive. The more you do, the better you can expect to get for your home. Make sure all your switch covers are on and cleaned.
New covers are less than $1. Just put a new one on and have them all match. If you don't want to do that deep cleaning, hire somebody. It might be the best $400, $500.
If they do a deep clean, it's hard when there are people living in the home and the furniture in the home. But if they do a deep clean, we had a listing that we're having come on this week. We had it deep cleaned and it cost $360. And they cleaned the stove and the oven, refrigerator, shower doors, tracks in the windows and sliding doors. They mopped all the floors.
I had a listing where the seller promised to clean the house before he left, and he left things in the washer and the dryer. Didn't clean the stove. I called the cleaner, and they did it before they moved in on my dime. A clean, sparkling home makes home buyers think it's well maintained.
Another thing you need to be very, very, very careful of, and that's odors.
Oh,
A lot of things, animals, different types of spices. If you smoke, these things are death to the value of your home. If you can't smell it because you've lived there, have someone come in and be brutally honest with you. Does my home smell okay? If it's a pet odor in the carpets or flooring, there are some things that can be done, but a lot of times you're going to have to replace that or pull it out. And then the cooking odors, paint. If you want the house to have a little zing, paint a wall. The smell of paint makes people think, oh, they like it. Even if you only painted one wall, it's the first impression. If you've smoked or you have cooking odors, then you need to do a really good washing of the walls with TSP, follow instructions. And you may need to prime. Depends on how serious the odor is. But if there is an odor, it will knock the price down significantly. Or some people won't even make an offer. People don't like to hear that, but it is a huge factor in the sale.
You have to let go of your ego because you're selling a product. Number 5, neutralize and brighten up.
To get top dollar, neutralize the color schemes in your home. There was a condo that I held open once for someone else, and the woman loved turquoise. The carpet toilets were turquoise. The bathtub was turquoise. The sink was turquoise. The appliances were turquoise. The phone on the wall was turquoise. As beautiful as the floor plan was, and it had a view of the lake, it took forever to get that thing sold because, yes, there are people who like turquoise, but there are people who don't like turquoise and are not willing to do the work. And that one would have been really expensive to fix because you would be pulling out toilets, bathtubs, and sinks. Those things, again, are going to restrict what people are willing to offer because they know they have to paint over it. Paint over colors that are not neutral with a beige, light beige, or pale gray. Go to a paint store and talk to them about what the current neutral colors are. I do not recommend white. It's too stark and it gives off a very cold feel. Same thing is true.
I don't know if it's still trending, but it was very trendy for a while. Black walls. Some
Yeah.
people absolutely love them. I
Yes.
don't. Bright or very dark colors can make rooms look smaller. Let's talk about getting an inspection. Tip number 6.
There are
Get a
pros and cons to a pre-inspection where the seller hires the inspector and the seller has the inspection done so that they have an inspection report that they can offer to potential buyers. A few years ago, we had so many buyers that they were afraid to make an offer because they didn't know anything about the house. They didn't want to make an offer without knowing what the condition was. In the contract in the state of Washington, if a buyer wants an inspection as part of the contract, it's called an inspection contingency. And the way it's spelled out is they have to have it done within a certain number of days. It must be by a professional or themselves. Sometimes buyers use this to tie up a house and they may walk away without ever doing the inspection. And the way that inspection addendum is written, they can. Once the seller's home is under contract, the real estate agent is required to go into the multiple listing service and change it from active to pending, or if there is an inspection, it must say pending inspection. But we know that buyers really want this inspection. Do you want to consider having an inspection done in advance? Now, here's the downside of that, because if you have an inspector come into your home, they are looking for the things that are wrong in the home. Go in the attic, under the house, check plumbing, electrical, safety and structural items. That's what an inspector is looking for. And once he's found that, he doesn't ask you if you want to know. He gives you the report. You have knowledge. And once you have knowledge, you must disclose it in a disclosure form that is required by law. Depending on if you're not going to fix it, you can plan on the price not being as great. Are you comfortable enough that your home is in pretty good shape, that having knowledge is okay? There are always all kinds of different scenarios around this. For a while, before sellers were buying the pre-inspection for the buyers, buyers would schedule inspections before they wrote up offers. I explained to our sellers, here's what you can, and this is what you risk, or you don't have to. Depending on the market, we may not get multiple offers and the buyer may want one, and that's a risk too. Which one are you more comfortable with?
A pre-inspection can give a buyer peace of mind, and they're more likely to waive the inspection.
Well, your home's on the market for a month and you get one offer and they want an inspection even though you paid for it. Your agent's going to be kind of like, this is the only offer you've got. How do you feel about that?
There is a couple of situations where you don't want a pre-inspection.
There are only 2 in Washington where you are not required. One is bank owned and 2 is if it is an estate sale. And the reason behind that is neither one of those entities ever owned the house, had anything to do with it. They don't know. If you are the executor of a will and you have that inspection done and you find out there's something wrong, you now have knowledge. And so you have to fill out that disclosure form and you have to disclose what you found wrong. And so a realtor should discuss that with you so you can make an informed decision.
Don't get a pre-inspection if you're on an estate sale. Tip 7, work with an experienced real estate professional. The DIY, the for sale by owner, has almost disappeared. You can do it, but there's really some downsides.
There's a lot of risk, financial, legal, if you didn't get something right in your paperwork. I recently saw a deal because they called me to take care of it after they had written it. When you started reading through it, it was just amazing how many things were missing. Studies have found that most of the time, for sale by owners sell the home for less than they could have gotten.
There's long-term evidence that a for sale by owner sale will be significantly less than that of with a real estate professional. Plus, you have the peace of mind of that person doing all the contract for you. Now, being part of EXP, we have a great situation. How can that help?
If you're local to us in the Puget Sound region, we would hope that you would like to maybe call us and interview us to work with us if you're selling or buying. If you're not in Washington State, with eXp, we are an international company. And if you need an experienced realtor and you're not sure where to begin, then give us a call. We would be happy to connect you with someone who is experienced. You get to interview them. If you don't like them, you don't have to use them. We're happy to help you find someone wherever you are, even in another country, but there's no charge for that.
There's no charge for any real estate questions. Right? You can ask us anything. If you need information about downsizing, we will be happy to help, all at no charge. Okay?
When we're putting our name on that contract, that's when we expect to earn our living.
That's it, folks. I appreciate all who took the time to watch or listen. This is Getting Your Edge, How to Downsize Your Home. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you, Dennis.
See you next time.
Bye.
So much.
Hey.
Bye.